The problem is we have a Porsche 911 Turbo with a big coolant leak. We have a coolant housing on the car that has a fitting on it that came out. Today we'll show you how to repair that in a better and longer lasting way. And of course, as usual, the all German way cheaper than doing it with a factory part. The factory part in this case is about $1,500. So here we are, we have removed the air filter housing out of the car. Sure enough, we can see right here the fitting has pulled out of the coolant housing. This issue we've seen on the Porsche 996s and also on some of the 997s. It's typical for the way that the fitting has been secured into the housing. That's quite easy repair once you have it out, but it's something that we've seen in more and more vehicle, and we're trying to address the issue by coming up with a cost-effective solution and repair for this problem. So with the engine out of the car, we have already removed the exhaust and all the other mounting components here on the back of the engine. This is where the coolant housing is located, and after it's completely unbolted from the car, you can see right here, it comes out, and then you can really start your repair. So here we have the coolant housing out of the car, and this part right here is the actual failure. This fitting right here where the hose attaches to had come out and obviously caused a very large coolant leak. And so when this failure occurs, it's not like a tiny little weepage like you would see from a gasket or a hose cracking or something like that, where the coolant will leak out over a long period of time. This will literally dump most of the coolant out of the engine in a very short time frame. And so here there's a very big chance of overheating the engine severely if the driver is not paying attention. The clearance between the bore and the housing, which measures 28 millimeters, and the tube itself that measures 27.78, so just over 0.2 of a millimeter, is quite large. So because of the very large clearance that we have here, which is 21/100ths or 8,000ths of an inch, it's important that we use a substantial sealer. So in this case, we want to use something like a JB weld or a metal epoxy by Loctite. The JB weld that is a conventional type that dries over 24 hours does have a larger strength than the JB quick weld, so if you have the time, we recommend that you use that product right here. So to remove the fittings that didn't come out as part of the failure, we have made a special little tool. It's very simple. It's a radius tube that fits perfect to the radius of the water fitting that we want to pull out, and so it doesn't deform the pipe. It's very important you don't grab onto this part with a pair of regular pliers or vice grip like you can see how we have modified in this case, because it will deform the pipe. And I've seen cases where shops have tried to pry on it or lurk it out and actually break the pipes, and now you have to have a new one made by a machine shop or go the route of purchasing a complete new housing. So to remove the tubes that did not come out as part of the failure, you apply a little bit of heat using a regular map gas type of torch. You don't want to get carried away with too much heat, and it takes a surprisingly small amount to actually heat it up to where the factory sealant gets dissolved or softens up. So heat it up for a little bit of time. Make sure you spread the heat and don't concentrate it right in one area. The last thing you want to do is overheat the housing to where you ruin it or create a soft spot, and then come in with a tool like this and pull it out. And you can see the old sealing kind of dissolving and coming off. Very, very easy, very little heat. So here we're just removing the rest of the debris and glue out of the housing. So here we insert the tube all the way, and with a marker, mark the line to where it's fully inserted. This gives us a reference to the top of the fitting, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a knurling on it so it creates a mechanical locking into the housing. So it's not just held in and free floating and secured only with the glue epoxy, but will be a mechanical lock into the housing. So So here we are, ready to install the fitting. We have cleaned out the worst debris with a brush. Then after that, with a piece of Scotch-Brite, cleaned it out to where the entire surface inside is shiny. And then degreased it with acetone and a rag that doesn't leave debris behind, so the hole is perfectly clean. And the same to the surface of the fitting that we're going to install. It's important that you physically have the entire surface covered. You don't want to have anywhere that is bare, because the larger the surface area you can get, the better the part is going to stick into the housing. Don't worry about putting too much on, because any of the excess will be scraped off during the installation. So here we have a special tool that we have made. It's machined to fit inside of here, so it doesn't distort the tubing in any way. And you can see as it goes in, there's some excess material coming out. That's fine. You want to make sure it has a bead the entire way around, which it does. And then tap it in. Until it is fully seated. You can hear it when you're doing it, you can feel it. But also we have the knurl mark right here. So you can, when you look closely, see that the knurl mark is now seated completely into the housing. Once this is dry, this is definitely not going to come out. On vehicles brought to us, when we perform the repair, we give the industry standard of 12 months, 12,000 miles, which we also give on all the repairs that we do. We've had shops send the housing to us. We try to turn them around in the same day so we can get it back to the customer or back to the shop as fast as at all possible. And we charge 4 hours to remove and install and knurl and do the whole process to the housing. Maybe shops that don't have the equipment or don't feel comfortable doing that on their own, this is a good solution. So here we are, just completed the coolant housing repair on the Porsche 996. Another car went out the driveway, another happy customer, a lot quicker time frame, a lot less expensive. That is the goal of all German Auto.